Oh, most definitely. Yes, most definitely. Bigger's better. We opted for the smallest possible to achieve the distance we needed necessary of 15 to 20 yards.
Okay.
Would I have liked to put a 2 horsepower motor, 3, 4 horsepower motor and launch it 80 yards? Most definitely.
Faster speed.
Exactly.
Okay, right.
Yeah, with the budget necessary.
I figured that answer would be pretty good.
The 1,600 is the actual budget for the prototype.
Okay.
The 500 was a mass manufacturing price
Okay.
for parts.
And is that parts and labor to assemble the whole
Yes.
whole 9 yards? Okay.
We kept the same model, the same design alternative. One difference that we made was we didn't have a rubber mat on the first one. After a suggestion,
Okay.
we actually incorporated that later, as well as the roller bearings. We didn't have that on there, I think, last time. And
Okay.
that was something we added as well. But other than that, exact same.
Okay. And did you run that back through the through your QFD and your design requirements? And all
Yeah,
that?
after, yes.
Okay. So,
I just periodic tightening up the mounting bolts and the motors and stuff. Motor brushes.
once a
tend to wear
year,
out.
twice a year?
Probably depends on usage, maybe.
Okay. Any oiling or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
It's pretty rigid.
That was one of the bigger reasons we went with such a thicker steel. Although a 500-pound force from the throw would, easily be compensated by this. Again, after discussing the high school horseplay and the fact that they're going to be sliding this thing in and out,
Right.
we didn't want something that could be broken during that process, although it would withstand the force of the football. That was one of the main driving considerations for our thicker frame.
That's actually a very good question. We wanted to incorporate a dolly-like type of transportability mechanism, and having on the back of the frame, the bottom back, having wheels, and on the top of the back having handles, just to be able to bring it down like a dolly.
Yeah, that was another question I was going to ask, so
Yeah.
we covered that question.
What we looked at actually was through the controller that handled the motor. Such as like say it's rotating and all of a sudden boom, if it locks up or either in contact with the hopper or something, running through the controller actually would blow the fuse in there and cut off power to the motor without causing an electrical interruption.
So
Is that- One thing in the power controller, we looked at the option of a GFCI, I believe controller it is.
GFI.
GFI, there you go. And ground fault interrupter. And for the use of our prototype, we did not incorporate that. We simply utilized from the DC motor, controller, converting the AC power and into the 120 volt controller. We didn't really do too much testing in terms of rain or electrocution and stuff like that. Again, with the use of the controller and the power supply, we didn't really know how to compensate for, this isn't made to be in the rain
Run it
necessarily.
out to the outlet, to the motors, to the controller, and to the outlet.
Well, what concerns me is the length of the cord. If you got it out by the goalpost and you got 30, 40 feet of extension cord, you got a problem. But it's a great product.
As a matter of fact, prior to our building, and trying to look at some of the past, previous art or whatnot, we contacted the UNM football team during the survey, and we couldn't get a hold of them at all. However, once preseason started, they were very easy to get a hold of. And so actually a gentleman named Rudy, who's actually the equipment manager, had a Jugs football machine that they have, and so they used that. And I told him what we were doing, and he was very interested immediately, eager to help, and he's eager to see it, so he's waiting. I talked to him last week, and he was checking in on it, so,
Outstanding.
yeah, so we
And
definitely...
the high school football coaches we surveyed as well, they wanted
They
to see
want
brochures.
As soon as we
That was estimated in the website development.
Website development,
Website development.
you just lumped
3,000.
it all together?
Try to put as much
Umbrella.
Saving on paper.
Yeah.
Okay,
Trying to fit it in the slide.
good project, guys.
They're adjustable, so you can, by trial and error, to adjust the trajectory.
And also maybe the spacing too? and-
Yeah, yes, all that.
Okay, good.
Yes, we have 5 adjustable holes that rotate the angle, as well as about 3-inch slots that can slide in and out.
There's machine grooves on all the mounting bolts and stuff that we
Okay, good.
And through calculation for that, just to add, from one of the, we actually had a football physics book that we alluded to for a certain, it said that a tight spiral needed a 600 revolution per minute, angular velocity as it spins through the air. So analytically, that's what we tried to do in terms of calculating the friction and how, what velocity it would provide angularly, tangential to it. So we did that as well.
Good.
Sometimes what we found it was dependent on during the testing is how well it was thrown into the machine.
Okay,
So the greater the force and the better it fed in, the better the spiral came out.
And as well as the laces of the football.
Yeah.
That
So-
was a big problem, and that was one of the things that we need to really look into. If it was face down or at an angle with the laces, it was very, very hard
Those are the
to
types
get
that
it to
didn't want to
go.
go.
So yeah, that was a little bit.
Is there a risk of it eating the ball?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Well, not so much eating it, but the way
Damaging the ball?
Damaging it. If you look at our football, which is out here, it is missing some.
Pretty beat up.
Yeah.
I mean, it grips it
But
good.
it grips.
Actually, prior to building it, that's one thing we were talking about in terms of the target area. You want to build a target area that's, easy to go into so you can get it back. At the same time, though, you got to make it realistic to the football, football player is not going to be going 8 feet this way, 8 feet this, so we made it about within the distance of a good, catchable football both ways. And prior to the building, we tested all 3 of us. We're neither, the best quarterbacks or, maybe comparable to high school quarterbacks, we figured, so we did trials on a target area, and we actually did pretty good, so we figured quarterbacks should be able to handle it.
After each.
Well, there's actually accessible gaps through the rear. If you go underneath through the rear, you can give it a little tap. You don't have to stand directly in front of it or anything like that, or turn it off or anything.
Also, exactly, you can always turn off the wheels. Also, we found if we throw a second football in, it
It'll
pushes
knock it
the
loose.
first one through.
Oh,
When it
okay.
jams, it doesn't jam in such a position that you
Okay.
have to apply really any force to move it. Really, it's just not sliding all the way through sometimes on the bearings because some of them we had to manufacture ourselves.
Okay.
But in response to the quarterback thing, that was the initial was, okay, for quarterbacks and, really just target area. So the idea was, them moving, passing, catching the ball and, improving their accuracy through the target area. So we kind of tried to aim it to all, fullbacks, running backs, all of them can, toss it in and, run a slant. Actually, the weight take care, the weight.
The weight is pretty sturdy.
pretty
It's
hard?
pretty
Yeah.
sturdy. I mean, if you have a quarterback who is throwing 60 miles an hour, then you might want to get some sandbags, but I extremely doubt that.
During the testing, we managed to hit the frame way more than the target. Especially me.
In addition to your question about the quarterbacks, we also kind of figured this would be a good tool to have on the sidelines. So as a quarterback is not on the field, he can continually keep his arm warm and not having to rely on a trainer there to help him.
Because right now, there's 3 people over there, right?
Yeah.
Heaven forbid the quarterback should have to catch the ball.
Right, exactly.
The guy standing next to him to catch
To
it.
catch it.
Yep.
Other questions? Thank you very much.